Omega is a sci-fi corporate conspiracy world based on a tech firm responsible for the advent of artificial intelligence. It's comprised of 6 stories. Let's look at them one by one.
Hello everyone, my name is Pratik Shah and this is the video documentation of my interactive narrative called Core Data Chapter 4. Core Data Chapter 4 is the final chapter in the story of Dr. Eric Mann, a lead research scientist at Omega Industries and a man single-handedly responsible for the creation of true artificial intelligence. Over the course of time, Dr. Mann falls in love with his own AI called Tiana. Things were going very well for them until Tiana decided to steal from company funds. That led to Omega shutting her down, and where our story begins. After the death of Tiana, Omega has been working on another AI project called Ava. Our story starts with Dr. Cora Goodman announcing the successful creation of Ava to the whole company. Dr. Mann, indignant about Omega shutting Tiana and excited about the possibility of Ava being a better version of Tiana, is faced with an internal conflict. This internal conflict leads Mann into the crosshairs of an official from Chimera, who is not only distrustful of AI but never wants them to be born for fear of losing his job. Chimera is Omega's official rival. Mann unknowingly informs the official from Chimera about the creation of AI. If Omega goes public with AIs, then Chimera would no longer be in business. To know more and to try to put a stop to it, he either coerces Mann to leak company files, or, failing to do that, kidnaps him. Either way, Mann becomes a liability who ends up getting killed by the official himself or a corrupt Ava. This concludes Chapter 4 and sets the story world for further stories. I urge you to play the game to experience Mann's story in much greater detail and find out what happens after his death. Thank you.
So this is what you see when you first open Data of Secrets. Here you get to choose, based on the last game, or Data, who killed Dr. Mann. So in this case, we're going to choose Ava. So the first big plot point is when main character Rosh receives a call from Fletcher asking to clean up the murder. For this passage, I used a picture basically to give the player more indication as to what they're doing at that moment. So after the phone call, the next thing is for character who's playing Rosh to start doing a number of tasks. So in this case, we might lock the door, you see their footprints on the floor, remove the DNA, and go back. Partway through the game, there's an interruption, and then we're back to this. At any time you can leave the crime scene, there's no indication of when you finish everything, you just gotta keep exploring. So we're just gonna leave the crime scene, see that we left early, and the result is a newspaper article. In this case, there's no clear indication of what happened, and officers are still looking. So we failed, but we didn't get caught.
Ascendant is the third chapter in the Omega story. You play as Ava, a humaniform android. Every day starts with you reading the newspaper to understand what is going on in the global news. When you connect to the connector interface, the player sees that he can see his profile. In this case, we are playing as Ava, created by Omega Industries. You can also upgrade skills. When you see the job list initially, you notice that you can't really apply for any of the jobs. This is because your skills don't match the required skills of the job. Let's go back and upgrade our skills so that we can pick up one of these babysitting jobs. This time, we see immediately that we can apply for the job. When we apply, we realize that there are certain ethical decisions that can occur during the job. Based on the honesty of your answer and the ethics of your decision, players get certain bonuses. Here you see Ava can be tampered with. Once she has been tampered with, there are errors that occur in her CI which lead to ethical decisions that would normally be very simple going wrong. When we connect with the job list, we see there are no jobs available today. Let's look for a prior client and see if they need anything. We're looking after Baby Joy, but the glitch in our console means the Baby Joy is now missing. When we report the baby missing, we notice that the baby is at your neighbor's house and your trans-like behavior scares the parents. They file a report. Let's look at today's newspaper. Here we find out that there's Android involvement in the murder of Dr. Mann. This is the first time there's a special issue. Here you have been suspected as the killer. Let's close the newspaper and try to run. At the end of the game, you will know that you have 540 credits left in this case. You know that Mike is responsible for the glitch in your console. This is the person you met at the bar who may or may not have tampered with your system. You know that you won't have more than 3 days before you're kicked to the curb and found. And your people skills will help. People won't betray you as easily. You can maybe get an extra day or two at the hotel. Here the player is given the option of replaying the game. Differences in choices might lead to completely different outcomes at the end of it. The player is motivated to replay the game or can continue to the next chapter of the Omega story.
This story game, entitled Defending the Indefensible. This story game, entitled Defending the Indefensible, based in Twine 1.4.2, focuses on Dr. Cora Goodman, Head of Development at Omega. In this game, Cora tries to keep her job and in doing so, secure custody of her children by managing the company's public relations after mass hysteria breaks out about their AI. This initial setup brings the interactor up to speed about what has happened in the story world up till this point. After discovering that the interactor themselves are playing Cora, the actual game begins. The game mechanics are first and foremost temporal. The user has only 5 virtual days of gameplay. This time limit is set by the date of the custody hearing for Cora's children. The interactor moves between Cora's home and work, collecting information from emails, headlines, and a randomized set of people in order to issue a press statement that will garner the most goodwill from the public. In addition, the interactor can also gather evidence about Dr. Mann's murder, choose to fake an alibi for the AI Ava, or even manufacture evidence against Omega's rival company Chimera, choosing, in the end, to send either the collected or fabricated evidence to the police. If the interactor manages to use their resources wisely, increasing both the company's stock prices and popularity, Cora keeps her job and her kids. As an epilogue, when Cora prints out Ava's transmission logs, the interactor also finds out that Ava is receiving commands from an unknown individual, thus luring the interactor to begin the next story.
Hello, my name is Patrick Sewell, and this is my final project for LMC 4720, the sixth and final game in the Omega Storyworld series, Chimera. This game takes place shortly after the fifth game, where the investigation of Dr. Mann's murder has reached a point where Rit Fletcher, PR of Chimera AI Innovation, is a prime suspect. It's the player's job to search Fletcher's computer and find evidence to prove that he is behind the conspiracy against Omega. Let's jump right into a short demonstration of the game. After this introduction screen and a brief tutorial, the player connects to Fletcher's computer through remote desktop and must decide how to begin searching for evidence. You're only given 15 minutes before the computer disconnects itself, so you must move quickly. The right side of the screen is a console in which you type commands such as open and close to browse Fletcher's files. The left side of the screen lists the files and folders within the current directory and also shows open files on the screen. Let's start snooping around. I can look at text files and images by opening them. Each file by itself doesn't really stand alone as good evidence to convict someone with, so the player has to search through the files and piece together what is going on. The archived emails folder is the main area in which the story takes place. From here, I can follow 3 parallel story threads that relate to the other stories in the Storyworld, such as Fletcher's conversations with Dr. Mann before his murder. From these emails, the player finds links to passworded files in the computer's recycle bin. To unlock these, the player also needs to find the passwords. These files are key pieces of evidence. Once you unlock one, the counter at the top of your console increments, and this counter relates to what ending you get. Once time runs out, or you manually disconnect from the computer, you reach the game's ending screen. Because I only unlocked one file, I got the bad ending, in which Fletcher is cleared as the suspect and Omega is blamed for the murder. Had I found more files, or had the other stories ended more favorably, I could have received either a neutral or good ending to the game. How does your story end? You'll have to play to find out.